25 September 1066, at Stamford Bridge in East Yorkshire, England, a sudden clash ended one invasion and helped open the way for another. The battle still matters because it changed the balance of power in a single exhausting day. England in 1066 was a kingdom under strain after a disputed succession. Competing claims, shifting loyalties, and the threat of invasion made every decision feel urgent and costly. The northern campaign began with a Norwegian fleet seeking advantage in a fractured kingdom. Their arrival forced English leaders to react quickly, with little time to gather strength or certainty. Two principal commanders carried very different burdens. One led a force far from home. The other had to defend a kingdom while racing north after another exhausting march. Their armies were built for endurance as much as shock. Shields, spears, axes, mail, helmets, and disciplined foot formations mattered more than speed once the fighting closed in. Logistics shaped the campaign before a single blow was struck. Men had to be fed, armed, and moved across unfamiliar ground, while fatigue slowly thinned the margin for error. Morale on both sides was shaped by urgency and uncertainty. The Norwegians had won earlier momentum, while the English were driven by the need to stop a deeper advance. The road to Stamford Bridge was a race against time. English forces moved hard and fast, trying to catch an enemy that had not expected a battle so soon. The battlefield lay beside the River Derwent, where water, bridge, and open ground shaped every movement. Weather and terrain favored neither side completely, but they punished hesitation. Accounts suggest the day was warm for late September, which would have made armor heavier and marching harder. Even a mild sun can wear men down before fighting begins. The opposing plans were not the same. One side appears to have expected a more orderly meeting. The other arrived determined to strike quickly and exploit surprise. At first, the fighting unfolded around the crossing and the approaches to it. The narrow space limited movement and forced men into tense, crowded contact. The opening phase likely depended on sudden pressure and rapid response. Once the English reached the field, the tempo changed from pursuit to a fight for control. A famous bridge defense is part of the story, though the sources are later and not always precise. Still, the image of a stubborn stand at the crossing has endured for good reason. The pressure point came when the line could not remain balanced. Once one side was forced to stretch and expose itself, the battle began to tilt toward collapse. Decisive movement often looks simple in hindsight. A well-timed advance, a shift in momentum, and a wavering line can turn a hard contest into a rout. The Norwegian force was caught between exhaustion and the need to recover order. That combination left little room for a second chance once the English attack gained strength. As the battle broke, individual courage mattered less than cohesion. Once formations thinned, retreat became disorder, and disorder became defeat. The immediate aftermath was grim in the quiet sense of exhaustion. Survivors tended the wounded, gathered the dead, and tried to understand how quickly the day had changed. Victory at Stamford Bridge did not end England's crisis. The northern threat was checked, but the kingdom was left strained, tired, and vulnerable to what came next. Within days, another army would land in the south, and the political consequences became impossible to ignore. Stamford Bridge mattered because it altered the timing, not just the outcome. In the years that followed, the battle entered memory as a dramatic turning point. It became part of the larger story of 1066 when one kingdom's future was remade. Historians still qualify many details. The sources are limited, written from different perspectives, and sometimes shaped by later storytelling as much as by eyewitness memory. That caution matters when reconstructing troop numbers, tactics, and the exact sequence of events. The broad outline is clear, but the fine details remain debated. Even the bridge episode is best treated carefully. It may preserve a real memory of resistance, but the surviving accounts do not let us freeze the moment with certainty. What is not in doubt is the battle's human cost in fatigue, uncertainty, and lost momentum. Large outcomes often turn on small advantages that only become obvious afterward. Today, the landscape is quieter than the chronicles suggest, but the river and fields still invite reflection. The site connects modern visitors with one of England's most consequential days. Standing there, it is easier to understand how terrain and timing can shape history. A bridge, a road, and a tired army were enough to change the course of a kingdom. The battle endures because it compresses the drama of 1066 into one hard-fought encounter. It shows how victory can be real, decisive, and still leave a nation exposed. Stamford Bridge is remembered not only for who won, but for what the victory could not prevent. History often turns on such fragile, unfinished triumphs. The political world before the battle was unstable enough to reward speed and punish delay. That instability explains why armies moved so far, so fast, and with such risk. Leaders on both sides had to trust imperfect information. In an age of messengers and rumor, a single misjudgment could decide whether an army arrived ready or exhausted. Weapons and armor were effective, but they demanded strength, discipline, and space. Once men were crowded together, endurance became as important as skill. The route north mattered because it compressed time and effort into a single desperate push. Marching hard could save a kingdom, but it also left soldiers vulnerable at the end of the road. Terrain near the river encouraged a battle of positioning rather than sweeping maneuvers. That kind of ground rewards patience, but only if an army still has patience left. By the end, Stamford Bridge was both a victory and a warning. It proved that a kingdom could win a battle and still stand on the edge of a larger crisis.